Man, Kyrie Irving defends Karl Anthony Towns. Gilbert Arenas has a take on generational talents, and the NBA Finals between the Mavs and the Celtics start on Thursday. I'm Rosa Panda. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Woo! I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm here with my boys. What up, gentlemen? It's good to be back.
She know she love Jay because
John, how you living, my friend?
Good to be back indeed. I got my beer. JJ's right. We got our boys and we got some basketball. Let's get it.
Let's get it indeed. Sammy, how you living, my friend?
And it's good to see you guys, but it's going to be rough to root for the referees in the finals. So Tony Brothers, we got you on DFS. Let's discuss. Let's discuss.
Sammy takes it all the way.
Definitely, let's discuss. We're gonna take this with a different angle here. We're not gonna do like your traditional breakdown. We have some quick fire questions here that JJ prepared for us. And you know, what I want to know for the first question. First, I need to set this up a little bit. We're gonna talk about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, we know about some of his history. I'm gonna review it real quick. Starting all the way back to Cleveland, where he wins a championship with LeBron James. He requests to leave Cleveland, where he ends up in Boston. In Boston, he tells them, guys, I hope you guys will accept to resign me, or something along those lines, that he was going to stay in Boston. And guess what? He did not stay in Boston. Later, he had a podcast saying that he was a flat earth believer, making more people upset. And then he ends up in Brooklyn with KD. They think it's going to be KD, Kyrie, eventually James Harden, that this was going to be a huge thing. And he didn't take the vaccine during COVID. He had mid-season surgery. And then some other things come out where he tweets some questionable stuff, like an anti-Semitic documentary, in which he didn't really apologize for it, but he sort of apologized for it. He then requests a trade after opting into Brooklyn.
Wow.
Where his value was so bad that this trade was for Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, and 3 picks. And if you ask anyone now, the Mavs definitely won that trade. Now, fast forward. He's in the Mavs, doing great. If Kyrie Irving and the Mavs win a championship, should we all apologize for criticizing him all along the way? Because I feel like there's a lot of us here that may have thought Kyrie Irving's value was down, or that his career might be, out the door. John, what do you think?
I think JJ should apologize. I'll start with that. All right. Should we apologize? Very loaded question. I think some apology is in order, but there are things that I don't think we should change our stance on, and I think this goes without saying, but there are some things that he crossed the line on. It's one thing to believe the earth is flat. Sure. You and 3 other people on this planet may believe that. Harmless, in my opinion, but there are other things that were harmful, right? And obviously people make mistakes. But in terms of basketball, if we're strictly focusing on basketball, then I hate to say this, JJ, but you definitely owe Kyrie Irving an apology. No, okay. I think we do when it comes to basketball, because we collectively, if I remember correctly, and you can run the tapes, you can check the episode. I don't remember when it was. It felt like eons ago, but I'm pretty sure that all of us wrote Kyrie Irving off. Not just off the basketball court, but on the basketball court as well. We said he's no longer a good teammate. We said he's no longer the same player that he was. We said all types of things. And honestly, in our defense, it certainly seemed that way, and there was no coming back from what he was displaying, not only off the court but on the court. And now look at him. He is 4 games away from winning his second NBA title, one without LeBron James. And I feel like that has been kind of hanging over Kyrie like a dark cloud, right? We've been saying that he's a great player for how many ever years prior to the last year or two. But a lot of the times people were saying he cannot win without LeBron James. And now he has this opportunity to do it. 4 games left to go. And despite all of that, like if we're looking at just the numbers, he put up some incredible numbers, I think, for a lot of these games. He was clutch, he won. In the last series against the Wolves, he won. I think he had a game winner if I remember correctly, but he just played. And the biggest thing, Sammy, I think you mentioned this, and I'll throw it over to you because I want to get your thoughts as well, is that he's playing defense now, which I did not think was ever possible with someone like Kyrie Irving. Not just because he didn't really have the drive to do it, but because of his size. But he is playing some defense out there, and I got to give him credit, man. So all in all, before I don't want to continue rambling and put the audience to sleep because I want to hear Sammy's thoughts, I for sure think we owe Kyrie Irving an apology.
I've appreciated the renaissance, even if it involved beating the Clippers on the way, because we forget how gifted this dude is just in terms of being a pure basketball player. But I agree with you that a lot of it's off-court stuff, but the off-court stuff affected his on-court availability. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think we need to apologize in that regard for when we look back at his career. Let's say they do win a title this year. He's going to go down for winning 2 titles, playing an integral role in both. You got to respect that. But then there's going to be this huge gap of 7 years where we say what could have been because of usually his own decision making. Injuries, I don't blame people for those. That happens. Some guys are more available than others. But just a lot of his own decision making led to leaving LeBron James, wanting to leave Brooklyn because of decision making he made. He got lucky that no one else wanted him, and Dallas got desperate to put someone next to Luka. And it turned out that it worked out. Now, we give credit to Dallas for that by all means, but my issue here is, again, let's say they win. Would it shock anybody in this group if next year or the year after, for some reason, he wants to see what the edge of the earth looks like before you fall over it, so he wants to go back to the East Coast, and he wants another trade? I'm just saying. So I respect it. I enjoy watching this on-court product. But at the same time, I don't think this one good run should erase the fact that a lot of what happened the last 6 years or 7 years is his own decision-making. So, Jay, tell me, am I wrong on that?
You are not wrong. John, you asked me earlier to apologize, and I will not. Because Kyrie had mistakes. But you know what, brother? People change. And Kyrie is playing, which is what all we wanted throughout the past 4 seasons of this podcast. Named The Clinic. We've all said at one time or another, we just want to see this dude ball. And he had a chance to ball. And he got criticized because as competitors here and as basketball fans, he didn't do what he should have done to be on that court. And that's my thing. And Jun, I'll leave it at that.
Jay, I completely agree with you. I don't think I'm really apologizing to Kyrie Irving because I think a lot of the stuff that he did before this was completely ridiculous. I'm more of apologizing to Mark Cuban. Just because I didn't see the vision. I didn't see how Luka and Kyrie can really work together as two very ball-dominant people. And also Mark Cuban and the coaching staff's ability to control what leaks out from Kyrie Irving, controlling the personality. So that's my take on that. I'm going to take it to go ahead, John.
I just want to say one more thing. I'm sorry. Right before we go, JJ, you still have an opportunity to apologize. So there's plenty of time in this episode. The second thing that I'm going to say is that if Kyrie Irving leads the Dallas Mavericks to beat the Boston Celtics and prevent them from their 18th championship, I just might go to the edge of the earth to find out if it's truly flat or not, everybody. Just putting that on the record here, all right?
You heard it here. We're going to hold John accountable for that one. The next question here is, It's about the Boston Celtics. And a lot of people think that the Boston Celtics had one of the easiest paths to the playoffs. And I want to know, do you guys consider their run to be the easiest within the past decade? JJ, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, they can't help who they face, but was it a easy path? Yes, of course. First round semi was Giannis playing.
Nope.
Okay, so John, who did they play second round? Was it they didn't play the Pacers, they played the Sixers. Did Embiid play? Or
No,
did they play?
Sixers were out for that series.
They played Cleveland.
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 Yeah, Cleveland.
Mitchell was out
Mitchell was out.
for half the
Yeah.
series. Yeah.
And then
You know, I think the first round was actually the Heat, right?
Yes.
The Heat.
Oh, my
the
bad,
Heat
guys.
without Butler.
But they didn't get to play. No, my point is, they didn't get to play any of the top 4 players in the conference.
Agreed.
No Butler. No, well, they didn't play no Butler against the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
No Mitchell. Cavs. And then who was in the conference finals?
No
Pacers
Halliburton.
and Halliburton missed the last.
No
two.
Halliburton. Yeah.
And
So,
the
yeah,
Pacers
you're right,
only
JJ.
got there. Sorry, just to make one last point. The Pacers only got there because the Knicks literally lost their top 3 or 4 players by the time Game 7 ended. So
Yeah.
even by injury, by secondary,
Yep.
changed their opponent. But I just want to put that out there as well. But please continue.
So the question is, right? The question is, is this the easiest path, easiest run to the finals that the Celtics have had within the past decade? The answer is yes.
Yes.
And I know you're going to say I'm a hater, which is true. I am a hater. But the reality is that JJ, you're right. You cannot choose who you play. You cannot determine who and who does not get injured. I fully understand that. Is it fair to say that the Celtics, did have the easiest path? Probably. I mean, is it unfair to say that? Probably. But you know what? I don't like them. So yeah, I'm going to say that is the easiest path.
You are a hater.
The past decade.
I tried to research a little bit on the easiest paths, and I wanted to give it some reference here. In 2017, we have the Cleveland Cavs, where they swept the Indiana Pacers, they swept the Toronto Raptors, okay, and that was with DeRozan, yep, and then they also defeated the Boston Celtics 4-1, and that was the Isaiah Thomas led Celtics. Easier path than that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the other one within the last decade, because we have to go all the way super far back to see a path this easy that the Celtics have come through, is the 2017 Golden State Warriors, where they swept the Portland Trailblazers, they swept the Utah Jazz, and then they swept the San Antonio Spurs, where Kawhi Leonard got hurt in that game 1, where Zaza Pachulia allegedly slid his foot under.
That was
laughing
KD?
at me because I said allegedly really hard.
The Warriors had an easy path because that was one of the greatest teams assembled.
Is that with KD? That was with KD, right?
That
Yes.
was with KD.
They only lost one game that year. One playoff game. But I see your point.
Do you think
Celtics,
one other-
easier path?
I guess my question for you guys about that, real quick, is: do you think the Spurs could have beaten them had Kawhi not gotten hurt? Realistically, keep
No.
it short. Well,
Nope.
I already know there's going to be 2 no's here, so I was actually not directing the question towards the 2 of you. That was more a question
we
for
weren't
Sammy.
part of this question at all.
Sorry, I should have clarified. I'm looking at the impartial group here.
Well, I will tell you, I have no idea what a healthy Kawhi Leonard looks like. So there's that one issue. But
There you go.
realistically, I don't think that Warriors team was going to get beat.
I don't think so either. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just asking. Okay, go ahead. Continue with the list. Sorry.
But can I throw out one other possibility here? Or don't mind
Absolutely.
if I
Yep. No,
interrupt?
go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
21 Phoenix Suns. Are we forgetting here 3 years ago, like this Celtics team, every team they played had some sort of major injury on the way. They beat the Lakers in round 1. I can't remember who the Lakers were missing, but somebody went down. in that series.
AD
I'm pretty
was
sure it
hurt.
was AD.
AD
Most
was
likely.
hurt.
Play the odds.
AD.
Then they played the Nuggets with no Jamal Murray.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
The
right.
Nuggets backcourt started Campazzo and Austin Rivers.
I remember this.
Then they got to the conference finals. Kawhi tore his ACL against Utah.
Oh.
Then they got to the finals and Milwaukee beat them there because Milwaukee was actually healthy. So that's the one other comparison I do want to throw out there, only because the path is so similar. Where it's all injury based.
Man,
Every
even
team they played had a major injury.
even then, I'm going with Celtics.
I think I agree with you, but I
Yeah.
felt like that one was the one I wanted to throw out there, and I wanted
Pretty
to see
close.
if you guys.
Good call. I like that.
Yeah, good call. We're all Phoenix haters, so that's a great call. Yeah.
No, Phoenix versus Boston. I can't lose here on who I'm picking.
You are a hater.
No,
Okay.
I think
go ahead.
the Celtics one. Sorry, I think the Celtics one is worse because that Pacers team. I loved watching them. They had no business in the conference finals, and they got to the conference finals, like I was saying, by proximal injury themselves. They weren't ready yet, and then on top of that, their best player goes down. So
I really think the Knicks could have given the Celtics trouble.
I agree with you. I don't know if the Knicks would have won, but
Amen.
I think they had the right matchup. If they had Randall and Anunoby and Brunson all fully healthy, that would have been a hell of a series.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to our next question here. Who is your X Factor player heading into the playoffs? I'm going to start us off with Sammy.
To me, this has to be Porzingis. We haven't seen him in 2 rounds, and he changes how good Boston is. I know they swept Indiana, but that series was actually a little closer in terms of each individual game, right? Indiana was in every game. They never got blown out. And I think part of that is because what Porzingis does is completely change everything. So I want to see how he looks in game 1. If he's healthy and running well, then you got to make the Celtics a pretty heavy favorite to win this thing. But if not, this gets very close very fast to me.
Jay, what do you think?
Ooh, Sammy got my answer, stole my answer. Porzingis averaging 20 and 7. But since he did name drop Porzingis, I'm going to say Lively. Lively tore it up. He made Rudy Gobert look bad and had better stats than Rudy Gobert. So I want to see how the Celtics counter Lively during this matchup, who is a rookie.
John.
Well, since I got my answer stolen twice by 2 different people, I'm gonna have to pivot here. I'm gonna go Derrick Jones Jr. I think he's gonna get the assignment on defending either Jaylen Brown or Tatum, and I think he can do. I know he's smaller. He needs to he's giving up a lot of weight to both of those guys actually, but I think his length and his athleticism can give some problems. Well, not say problems. He can make it tough for either of those guys, and he's going to have to in order for the Mavericks to, to stay in games and to have a chance to pull off the upset, which is an upset based on the records and, the overall consensus.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question I have is best finals duo. Is it Brown and Tatum, or is it Irving and Doncic? John.
JJ, we're talking about Kyrie again. You have an opportunity here to apologize if you want. So, I mean, to me, this is an obvious answer, right? Okay. Anytime I say something against the Celtics, everyone's looking at me like, "Oh man, this guy's such a hater." But I think Irving and Doncic. If we're just talking about the duo, Irving and Doncic, to me, is the better duo. I mean, individually they're better players, I think, but even then, like as a duo, I still think they're better than Brown and Tatum. So that's my pick.
Sammy.
So tempted to take Brown and Tatum. I really am. Just because of
Do it.
Do it.
well, 2 reasons.
Say it.
One, they both play defense. relatively well. 2, again, completely respect what Irving has done in this playoffs. I do think the reputation all of a sudden is going a little bit above what the stats are showing in terms of the output on the court. And why I'm bringing that up is because if you look at Brown's output in the playoffs compared to Kyrie's, Brown's has been higher above pretty much most stat lines. In terms of field goal percentage, points per game, rebounds per game, and defense. But if you ask the average fan, they're probably going to pick Kyrie every time. I think in terms of the stat output, not like flat out who's a better player. So
My challenge to that real quick, Sammy, is
please.
the stats, we all know that stats don't tell the entire story. When push comes to shove and it's in the final moments of the game, you need a bucket or it's a clutch moment, I would 100% trust Kyrie over either of those two.
And I agree with you. So I reluctantly will also take them in this, but I think it's a lot closer, in my opinion, it's a lot closer than I think it looks on paper initially. I'll say that. I really wish Tatum had more of a killer instinct, though. That's what drives me insane. Jay?
Oh, man. I know Brown and Tatum, they're two-way players, but compared to Irving and Doncic, their floor is really lower compared to theirs because we've seen them choke. And we've seen them choke for multiple years. Maybe it's because Irving has more of a experience in the finals, but you can't deny what John said, like what he's done, especially to that 2016 Warriors, like that shot over Curry. That was a monumental shot for NBA history. Luka got the EuroLeague MVP as a 19-year-old, and those credentials alone, I have to pick those two. I've just seen Brown and Tatum, like when the spotlight is on them, they tend not to show up. I know that's unfair criticism, but until they prove me otherwise, even though Luka hasn't really proved it much. I mean, I guess he has though, right? If you win EuroLeague and Irving has won a ring, they have more championship DNA, so to speak, compared to the other two. So that'll be my justification to pick John, Kyrie, and Luka. So I'm not apologizing, John.
That's a really funny way of apologizing. I think you should just say you're sorry.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go with Kyrie Irving and Doncic just because they've shown so much during these playoffs. But I will say this, that even though Kyrie and Doncic they're so incredible, like they really carry this team, and Brown and Tatum don't have to carry the team just because the way the team is constructed. I feel like if the Mavs are going to win, Kyrie and Doncic literally have to be going. They have to. Brown and Tatum, I could see games where they're both not really going, but people like Derek White step up, Porzingis step up, Drew Holiday's defense steps up, and they end up winning the game despite Brown and Tatum. I don't see the same for the Mavs. If neither Irving or Doncic isn't going, there's no way that they're going to win. I don't think they could beat the Celtics teams if both of those people aren't going, and that's why I think they are the best duo, because they do most of the heavy lifting. All right. Next question or comment. Luka, when asked if he's bothered by comments saying he's unathletic. No, I'm athletic in different ways. They don't see, so not everything is jumping and running fast. Sammy, what do you think?
I would say I would love to use that argument for myself. In general.
There's dozens of us.
Yeah. I mean, is it me, or does it feel like every summer after he plays EuroLeague or whatever he's doing, he looks like 30 pounds thinner? And then he comes back in the fall, and God knows what happens between August and October, but it's like it all came back. So,
didn't he say he gets like free food everywhere he goes in his hometown? And that's the reason why, or something like
so, I
that?
mean, athleticism can be judged different ways, but at the same time, it does feel like maybe he doesn't have the off-season training regimen that some players do. Then again, Jokic, by his own admittance, is riding horses in the off-season, and they're probably the two best players in basketball right now. So maybe our standards are off, and they're doing it right in Europe. I mean, clearly there's some level of athleticism there that's working because he beats everybody and he outscores everyone. So
JJ,
I'll give credit where it's due.
Okay, so here's my definition, because I gotta break it down by definition, and you guys may not agree with it. You could be unathletic, but be an athlete in a sport. So if you play a sport, you by default are an athlete, but that doesn't make you an athletic. So for example, if we're gonna do, I'll say baseball. Like, you guys remember David Ortiz from Boston?
Yeah.
Big Papi, right?
yeah,
That guy is not athletic. I'm sorry. He doesn't have agility. He's not quick. I don't see him doing like the agility ladder at full speed, but he's skillful. He's skillful at hitting the ball,
yeah.
which is not athletic, but he's an athlete. So is Luka. Like, that's okay, man. Like, you don't have to be athletic, but you're skilled, dude. And that's where I'll give you props. But sorry, Luka, you are not athletic. You are an athlete, though, with supreme skill. If you get the difference.
John.
So, I think he's right, though. I think Luka's right. When we think of athleticism, we think of being fast, and jumping high. But I think part of that is also being athletic is being physically imposing, being strong, right? And I think he has that ability to get to his spots. He really isn't affected by guys playing physical defense on him. If you watch him closely, he literally can get any shot that he wants, even if he is not the fastest guy. And he probably runs like a 4.9 40, right? Like something very bad. Tom Brady status out here. So I agree with him. I think we just have this idea that athleticism is just, a few things that we're seeing, like guys that can dunk really hard, jump really high. Was it Gerald Green? I'm trying to think of an example. Gerald Green is super athletic, right?
Yep.
So,
Do you think a bodybuilder is athletic then? They're strong?
I think they could be athletic, yeah.
Come on, man.
What?
I'm gonna say that Luka is more athletic than us.
Yeah.
I will also say that if you want to debate whether or not he's athletic and only saw him playing defense, you would say no, that guy's not athletic. But the fact that he plays offense and is so skillful on offense, it makes me think that he may be more athletic than he really is. But I really think that he's smart and he processes the game a lot faster than everyone else. So his mind is really what's working a lot quicker than everyone else, as opposed to his body.
All right,
So he's not athletic.
I'm clowning on JJ because I'm looking at the definition.
I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but yeah, Luka's not athletic, okay?
Look, the definition. Hey,
I'm not gonna have him play defense, okay?
The definition of athletic is physically strong, fit, and active. So JJ, yes, he is athletic.
Well, what's your source?
Unless your definition is wrong. Dictionary.com is the source.
Is this a .com source?
Dictionary.com is the source.
See, you forget some JJ an educator. He's about to pull out an actual dictionary. I'll show you different definitions.
I need a .org, .gov, or .edu, like Sammy's saying.
Wait, Wikipedia is not a great source, or what?
minimum 15,000 word essay, dude. Turn it in.
JJ, come on, man. You're an educator. I thought you should know this.
I'm going to take us to our next question, guys. We're going to do a start cut bench with the superstars of the 2024 playoffs. And it's going to go like this. Ant-Man, Tatum, Luka. JJ, who do you got?
Oh, man. Controversial. I'm going to come off as a hater. The correct answer in my eyes is start Luka, bench Tatum and cut Ant-Man because technically they made it to the finals. But hey, this is my answer, Sammy. I'm gonna go start Ant-Man, bench Luka, and cut Tatum.
Love it. John.
You know what?
He's cutting the Celtics.
Because Luka is extremely athletic, JJ. I'm gonna start Luka. I'm gonna bench Tatum, and I'm gonna bench Ant-Man, and I'm gonna cut Tatum. Like, I'm sorry, man. Everybody, like, Tatum. He has to get over the hump. How many times are we gonna see him get close to the promised land? I mean, this is it. This is his best opportunity. Well, it might not even be his best opportunity. Probably against the Phoenix series when they were up 2. Was it against Phoenix? Warriors. I'm sorry. Were they up 2-0? Yeah. And so that was probably his best opportunity. But he has another one here, and if he doesn't pull it off, man, then I'm just gonna continue to cut Tatum every time I get this question. So yeah.
Sammy.
I think the Tatum hate's gone a little too far, honestly. I really do, and I know that I'm in the room that I'm in.
Okay.
I'm still starting Luka. Luka's the clear number 1 here. I love Anthony Edwards, but the hype got a little over the top this year. It did. And so if you're asking me this question 4 years from now, my answer would be different. Right now, I think it's Luka, Tatum, Ant-Man, only because, like I said earlier, Tatum needs more of a killer instinct, but at the same time, the guy's production level has been so high that I think because they've been there a couple times, the hate's gone a little too far. But at the same time, they keep getting to the conference finals, and we haven't seen that kind of sustained run of success often. So I can't stand Boston either, but I will give the respect where it's due. So that I'm going to go with that.
So you went Luka, Tatum,
Edwards.
Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going Luka, Ant-Man, Tatum. And the reason being why I'm cutting Tatum is because you could have even made a debate, should Tatum be on here? Should it be Brown instead? These playoffs. So if you have to debate that, I don't think you belong on this list because, I mean, Ant-Man, they would be nothing without Ant-Man the way that he was playing for Minnesota, even though he was struggling near the end. But you knew that he had to get going in order to win. Tatum, on the other hand, obviously, it doesn't have to just be him. It could be someone else like Jaylen Brown on his team. All right, next question. Which superstar had the most help throughout their career?
Past and present?
Like, who are we talking about? Those 3 above or just anybody?
This was a bonus. I put everybody, but do you guys want to keep it finals or do you want to keep it in general?
You can go general.
General?
Sure.
Ooh.
Say it, Sammy.
I don't know who you're thinking. You want to know who I'm thinking?
I'm thinking of trolling Ro and JJ right now.
I will troll you back.
The answer on this one to me is Kevin Durant. That's
a good pick.
That's a good pick.
Because he keeps going from situation to situation to try to find more help. And the one time that he actually found enough help, he wasn't even technically the number 1 guy. And that's when he actually won titles. And that's part of the reason his reputation is what it is, because he keeps bouncing around and not winning unless he's with one of the best teams of the last 50 years. So my answer is KD.
JJ.
Troll on each other. I want to hear this.
What do you think?
The 2 people. Okay, I love Sammy's comment, but if I'm gonna troll John, and I say this with all love and respect because I do respect and love these 2 players, but objectively speaking, you could argue that Shaq had the most help. Okay. You could also argue that Magic played with a lot of Hall of Fame players. But I'm not discounting those squads, right? Their dynasties the Laker franchise is a dynasty.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
I mean, Shaq had Penny. We didn't win with it, Penny.
Yeah.
But Kobe. Wade.
Yep.
I feel like help needs to be defined, you know? Like, cause Shaq was also like the best player.
True.
Like he won MVPs, you know? And like I don't know, like what is help? Like what does that mean? You know, John, what do you think?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying like what does help really mean to you?
Oh man. I mean, being able to defer to your teammates, right? Like you can win despite having bad games. Like as a superstar, if you're not performing, putting up incredible numbers and doing the intangibles on the court, your team is not winning or even sniffing a chance at winning. And to me is that what a true definition of help is. I don't know. Do you feel that the same way?
I agree with you, John.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, good definition.
If I had to choose, man, KD was a great one.
Would you put LeBron
But-
up there?
I don't think so. Well,
Sammy,
the
you're
Miami
nodding your
Heat,
head.
the Miami Heat, yes, but the Cavs, I don't. Kyrie and Kevin Love, I mean, no, I mean, look, I think the bigger conversation is nobody's winning an NBA title without a decent amount of help. Now, whether that is in the form of one or two other superstars or a well-rounded team where everyone knows their role, like the Dallas Mavericks this year, like the Boston Celtics, they're not stacked. They don't have three superstars. I mean, like you can make an argument that Tatum and Brown are superstars. They're probably fringe, like all-star / superstars. So, you know, man, okay. I'm not gonna say Steph Curry because I don't want to upset. JJ still has to apologize to Kyrie Irving before the show's over, and I'm holding out hope, everybody.
You're
What
trying
about,
to leave that door open.
Yeah. What about Duncan? Is that or no? I mean,
Talking
David
about, like,
Robinson.
oh yeah, you could say
Robinson?
David Robinson, but we're talking
Parker.
like how stacked was that Spurs team? And I know they were incredibly coached by one of the
Yeah.
greatest of all time, if not the greatest. You can make an argument. I just think that team was like crazy. Ginobili's a Hall of Famer. Tony Parker's a Hall of Famer. Tim Duncan's a Hall of Famer. I mean, you can make an argument there, I think.
Yeah, you definitely could. You know, I'm going through this Reddit post here, and someone put an interesting one. They put Dennis Rodman. They said he had Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, Scottie
Okay.
Pippen, Shaq,
Well,
Kobe,
David Robinson?
Okay, can I throw a hypothetical? I know these are quick fire, but when I think of help, though, I'm thinking of the top guy getting help from other people.
That's
so I
true.
respect that answer. That's actually
true.
a really good perspective. But I think of Rodman as like the best help that anyone could have. You know,
I see.
I
Like the
see it
other way
like-
around.
Exactly.
Got you.
Sorry, and then I just wanted to make one more. I forgot a name on that Spurs team. Kawhi Leonard for a bit.
Yeah,
too.
Duncan was a good number 2 to him. You're right about that.
You know what? All right, dude. Had about enough of this.
I think Sammy, at least for the modern day era, I think Sammy probably had it right. Kevin Durant.
I just
Yeah.
hate the
I think
approach
that
too,
feels
man.
right. Yeah.
Like, so can I
Being
make
like
one
a
quick
hired
comment about
gun?
LeBron as well? So
Yeah.
LeBron and KD almost are the opposite of each other in how they took the approach. KD would find a situation, if he didn't like it, he'd keep moving around. LeBron every year, the one thing that I do think is going to go against him when you look at his historical, just all time, where you put him in the rank. And for the record, I have him as number 2. So I'm not saying I have him way lower. Not enough goes into the fact that every year at the trade deadline, half of those rosters were not sure if they were still going to be there because he basically put the front office on notice to get him help every year. And so that affected the continuity of every team going pretty much from the return to Cleveland to where we are now. Every year at the deadline, except for this year because the Lakers refused to do it, which I respected, they'd flip through half the damn roster. And so I do think that has to come into account when we talk about help. He liquidated assets year after year, and I get it, but on some level, it's kind of like you need to see if the same roster 2 years in could actually perform better because they've played around each other, and not assume you could shuffle the cards every year. And I just don't think that's talked about enough.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to die on the island that LeBron James will always be a number 2 to Jordan just because of that reason. Like every time he went to a new team, he brought superstars with him.
Yep.
And I can't put him over Michael Jordan at all because of that. I'm going to go to our next topic. This one, our next subject, actually, we're going to talk about quotes here. Kyrie Irving on Karl Anthony Towns. He said, despite the unfair criticism that he's received, he's a great player. I respect him. I know my teammates respect him. That's what great players do. They figure it out. What do you guys think about what Kyrie Irving is saying about Karl Anthony Towns here? JJ.
I love that he's giving his fellow peer props, but to be real, Cat was absent during the playoffs, especially the last round. When you're throwing up not even realistic dates, you're throwing up years, like 0, 4, 46, for 3. That is unforgivable, and you're a power forward.
That almost, I'm getting excited because that almost sounded like an apology. He was giving Kyrie Irving a little bit of credit there, saying that he respects, you know, talking about other players like that, giving them the flowers. Okay, we're getting somewhere, JJ. So I agree with that. I agree with JJ. And honestly, this is probably a more strategic move than anything. I think this was still during the series, right? Or was this after the series? Was this after they beat
After
him?
the series.
Oh, okay. So there's no strategy involved then. No, man. I mean, I think Kyrie meant. I mean, like, you don't want to kick a guy when they're down, right? Like, he obviously, the Wolves lost. I'm sure Cat was upset, and he does get a lot of flack. I mean, he gets a lot of, like, people are hard on him for a number of reasons that actually go beyond basketball. I mean, they talk about, like, the way that he sounds, his voice, they emasculate him, things like that. Like, he gets a lot of crap that really isn't deserved. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean? He's playing his best. He didn't play particularly well, but it is what it is, man. You get another opportunity next year, so.
Sammy, I'm actually going to have you take this question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is from Shams Karania. He said that the Los Angeles Lakers are zeroing in on JJ Redick as a front runner for the franchise's next head coach. Do you predict that this is going to be like a second coming of like Steve Kerr or like Magic Johnson? Like, what do you think of JJ
Clipper
Redick?
legend.
Those
Clipper legend.
are two very, very different coaching comparisons, and so likely the answer is somewhere in the middle. But to me, this is what this comes down to. I personally think Redick has everything it takes to be a great head coach. In LA, specifically with that team, and what we just talked about with LeBron, you got to remember this guy has no coaching experience at all, right? So you need to be patient and let him make mistakes and let him develop. And the question is going to be, if they start cold and he makes some bad decisions, is the pressure going to be on him right away? And how is that going to affect this curve? I think he has the potential to be great. I don't think this was the right situation for him. We'll see if I'm wrong. So I'm curious to see how that goes, but they got to surround him with a really good assistant staff to start. That's going to be the other part of this for me.
Can I just say something real quick on that?
Do it. It's all on
I
you,
agree.
man.
I
It's
agree
your
with
team,
Sammy.
dude.
I agree with Sammy. Well, yes, it is my team. If JJ Redick knows that timeouts aren't carried over to the next game, I think we can make some progress here. And if he also knows that challenges can't be carried over to the following game, then I think we'll make small steps, everybody. And I'm sorry. I got that was my little dig at Darvin Ham. I know you're not supposed to kick a man when he's down, but guess what? He's laughing all the way to the bank, doing nothing. I think he's still owed like $10 million. So,
But
boo.
do you like the potential hire?
I mean, I agree with Sammy. I think there's potential there, but to his point, yes. How much time? I mean, LeBron James has what, 1 or 2 years left? Assuming he re-signs with the Lakers, which most likely he will.
Mm-hmm.
If they start off slow, then what? We'll find out.
JJ, what do you think?
Look at LeBron's resume with coaches. Usually the coaches that need time, they get fired mid-season.
If they fire him, will they still do the podcast together? I'm just gonna ask them.
It'll be remote, Sammy, with no camera, because, so they can't see each other's reactions.
I'm gonna take us to our last quote here, and it's with Gilbert Arenas. Steph Curry is not a generational talent. Generational means you can't mimic it. You can't mimic effing LeBron James. You can't mimic Victor Wembanyama. Nikola Jokic is not a generational talent. So I guess he thinks Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry aren't generational talents. I'm going to start us off with John here. Agree
Agent
with
Zero,
Gilbert?
man. Agent Zero. The zero. Now we know what the zero stands for. His IQ. Like this is straight up blasphemous, man. And look, I've always said like Jokic is. I still wouldn't put him in my top 10 because he, you know, if you don't have the accolades and the championships to back it up, you at least have to be that two-way player defensively. Like I understand that Magic Johnson and Steph Curry are in the top 10, my top 10, and they don't play great defense, but they have the accolades and the other things to kind of cover for that. But still, Jokic is a generational talent, right? That you can have it both ways. You can, just because he's a generational talent in my mind doesn't mean he has to be in the top 10. That's a stacked list anyway. And like, man, Steph Curry, like that is the most blasphemous thing. And look, it's like, man, I'm kind of speechless, and I want to hear Ro and JJ's reaction to it because I wish this wasn't a PG podcast because I really want to get their thoughts. Explicit, uncensored. But we all know where I stand on this. This is crazy. Come on, man.
JJ, go ahead, then we'll go Sammy.
I mean, come on, like Steph is shattering 3-point records. You're seeing little kids mimic what he does. He changed the game because before this, and we're all fans of basketball, but we play basketball too. We've never had step back threes. We've never shot half court shots. Or, hey, we're 5 feet from their 3-point line, let's shoot it. If you did that during a high school game back in the day, your coach is making your ass run laps. So when you think of generational talent, I'm thinking about that one player that changed the whole game where it had a cultural, global, outside influence. Magic, Larry, Jordan, and Curry.
I'm looking at this and legitimately this almost reminds me, the way he approached this almost reminds me of his play on the court, which was kind of tunnel vision. What he's calling generational is physical traits. He's looking at LeBron and Wembanyama and looking at the fact that you can't replicate 7'4" and dribble like a point guard. Like, no kidding, but if you don't think the best shooter of all time is a generational talent because of that kind of skill, then just your takes are so short-sighted that they could damn near be disregarded. And I know there's people out there that say, well, he played great. That means nothing to this as far as I'm concerned. And saying Jokic isn't generational, you don't win 3 MVPs and pass the way he does and play the game the way he does without doing something that no one else has ever done. Because if he wasn't generational, someone else would have done it. So I find it completely ridiculous.
You know, you guys said it all. And with that, we are done with this with tonight's podcast. I want to thank you three for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you all.
She knows she loves Jay because
John, thanks for being on.
JJ, there's still time. Still got 10 seconds or something, man.
Never.
You good? Okay. All right, everybody. Great stuff. I'll see you later.
Sammy, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks, man. And as we discussed earlier, let's go refs. Refs in 7.
Refs in 7. And of course, shout out to our video producer, RJ. Check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, The Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panza. This is The Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.
I like turtle.